and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this video today with me here in this beautiful forest in the Alps. So before I begin with today's topic, I have a very short announcement for all of you guys. And those of you who know me perhaps from Facebook, I will no longer be using my Facebook profile, personal profile, where people sometimes add me, because they find me on YouTube and then they add me on Facebook, or, vice versa. And the thing is that I'm moving into this deeper, upgraded, selfless service mode, and I'm not guided to post via my personal profile anymore, which means that, it's been kind of energetically dead for me for a while. So instead, I've created a Facebook page that is almost like a parallel to my profile, and it's called Polona Rea Dawn. And it's just in a way similar to Instagram, except that in difference to Ascension Pioneers and what I offer there via Ascension guidance is that it's going to be more personal in terms that it will also provide a more tantrika level of my being, and it will be also posting about Life Force retreats when they will become available. I'm also going to do photo albums and lots of pictures with the quality of what comes here from this essence of the Alps. So if you are not yet familiar with me on Facebook, I have two pages. One is Ascension Pioneers and the other one is my namesake, which is Polona Rea Dawn. So just type it in or find the link below or go to my description box. So yeah, follow me there if you want to get all the posts and if you like what I share, because my personal profile will no longer be active, but it's still there, because on Facebook you can't have pages unless you have a personal page profile. So let's get started with today's topic. As you know, we are in the midst of a very powerful eclipse season, and we are just before the dawn of the solar eclipse, which will be visible all across the United States. Which, the thing with eclipses is that whatever the area they cover physically when they're visible, this is where their overlighting essence is the most powerful in its effect. Although the effect of the eclipses is overly felt everywhere on the planet, the majority of what's happening now in the USA is being overlit with this eclipse. As you know, there's a high on a political regime uprising there and lots of things coming up, and currently the status quo of what the whole world is all about, it comes from the governing of from the United States. It's all being directed from there. So it's very important, this eclipse. If you want to know more about this eclipse and the entire eclipse season, if you haven't yet watched my videos, watch my Ascension and Galactic updates on that note. In this video, I wish to share more on the note of what those of us who will not experience this so much as an event, but more as an inner light encoding. So eclipses or any other celestial events are always felt and experienced from the level and degree of where you are in your own mastery and soul evolution. So for those of you who are either Ascension Pioneers, volunteer souls, you will experience an eclipse internally, which means that your DNA will be activated and upgraded. So I was guided actually very recently to create a powerful light activation for the DNA encoding and, first of all, DNA understanding. Because in this new age, so many people talk about DNA, and there's like DNA this, DNA that, and I'm noticing that so few people have the actual understanding of what DNA is. And me, working through the light family of the Elohim, who are actually the creators of the DNA. It's the creation of all life forms and all life, it's the creation template. And those of us who are creation pillars, we have that foundation of this understanding embedded within us. So this activation is a powerful, actually 1 hour journey where you can help to not just activate your DNA, which is basically something you cannot do. A lot of people talk about DNA activation, and without understanding, without you applying what you have activated, a lot of people get damaged that way, because that light that is triggered does not know where to go in the body. So without, integration, this is not balanced. It's not whole. It's not complete. So in this It's an MP3 download, as all my activations are. This one is a little longer. There's actually 3 parts. In the first part, I explained via spirit channeling the essence of DNA and what DNA activation truly means on different levels of triggering our DNA as a source being, a co-creator level being, and the one who's bringing the infusion of DNA as light patterns into the world of physicality. In the second part, there is an activation of your light being and how to become infused with Holy Spirit life force so that in the end, you're not in control of your body in the way that perhaps you're used to be as through the ego personality, because a lot of people, they believe in healing, they talk about the healing, they want to trigger healing, they want to manifest healing, and somehow it always gets stuck at a certain point. There's always, you know, because there's band-aid placed on a certain point, but it's not a holistic experience yet, because there are still parts, everywhere there's blockages and resistances to the flow of natural life force, which is the spiral of all spirit. It's what makes us organic beings. And when there's, in a way, a disconnect from that, we will not have that full experience. So a lot of people who want healing, but they can have it as a, you know, on all levels, is because they're not open to receiving without that egoic control. So in a certain line, we have to release the tendencies to need to heal, you know, and hold the energy so tightly that the body itself cannot heal. So this activation, in a way, in a lot of terms, is related to natural, spontaneous, miraculous, even healing abilities. And that comes in the third part, where I explain to you via exercise. We do the exercise together on how to, through choosing an aspect of you in your body and through an aspect of you in the body that perhaps was damaged before or experienced a trauma, you help with this awareness and with the spirit activation, which you did in the second part, to flow that energy in your body without resistance, without the need to control your ego personality. Because a lot of times people say, I'm healing, but I'm doing so much. Why isn't it working? Because you're pushing and you're holding on to that healing. And you're not allowing, because you're not trusting the natural wisdom of the body, of the life force, when it starts to penetrate in the body. And sometimes there will be an experience of quite a transition, okay? We had a little visitor there, a little tiny fly on the lens of the camera. So you see, it's kind of like the message, you know, flies are like aspects that are separate. They kind of represent those astral tendencies where we have created holes in our awareness, where the auric body within us is not completely unified, in a best way to say it, very simply. So in that third exercise, which I channeled through spirit, I was shown how much this control over healing is blocking us to unlock the potential within our DNA that is truly the miraculous, magical healing abilities that we have, because we're not allowing the life force to do that through us, and we're not trusting. And a lot of people are holding on to their healing so tightly that, you know, in a way it works for a while, because the mind is a powerful tool, they say, right? Mind creates on a certain level, but it's not yet an immortal experience where you're changed at the very level of, in a way, the subatomic particles in your body. So every particle, every light particle in the body is a direct translation from light DNA to physical DNA, which is all explained in the first part. So if you have an interest to become an illumined human being, where your DNA is not just being activated, but also fully understood, integrated, and then revitalized, so in a way fully rewritten into this new format, then this activation would be perfect for you. It's on my homepage, Obsidian Light, which is my main page. What else to say about this? The thing is that I've been shown that sometimes, you know, we don't understand why our bodies react a certain way. And we want to have an understanding of what happened within our body. And a lot of times, although that is okay, you know, we wish to understand more about the self, but many times we get almost like dysfunctional. It becomes, in a way, diabolic almost in the way how we want to access our bodies. And a lot of people are fit on the outside, but their internal state does not fully reflect and does not mimic the life force that is purely meant to flow through the spiral of life. And if you want to get an even deeper understanding of life pulse mastery, life force mastery, galactic life pulse, it's all in my tantric course, which you already know. But I want to also say something in regards to this activation is, during this time, a lot of us, those of you who are in this path within the sacred calling of ascension or assisting others in their ascension, there is a tremendous need for you to experience that within yourself first. And there's levels where people think, well, I'm going to join with groups, I'm going to be with others. And although there is lots of people who are doing the co-joining and, you know, rejoicing together, you know, forming all those kinds of different groups, there's a lot of us who are not a part of this because we are the pioneers or the volunteers who are creating the kind of internal transformation for the new human, which is a template that will follow for those who are ready. The thing is that as a part of the Aquarian age, we're now just barely entering, because we're still at this last vestiges of the tail of the Pisces. The Aquarian age is, you know, the Aquarian energy is not just about this telepathic transfer and new technology, you know, things that we imagine like that. It has many different attributes to it. And one of the Aquarian essences or the attributes to it is the liberation of our soul, liberation that comes through the spirit embodiment. And what this means is that each individual has to become fully self-individualized before they will join groups. Because, you know, Aquarius is all about the group, and people say, well, then we're going to form groups. Yes, but we're not in the Aquarian age yet, and the majority of people is not in their awareness able to formulate groups within a true dynamic of each being not just, you know, you go in a group, but you're a follower in a group, or someone's a leader, or someone's, I don't know. The new dynamic is when each being is a sovereign within the group. We think we need a leader. Well, what if everyone within that group could be an expression of a leader in their own way, because they're their own sovereign? So before we can enter groups in that way, we have to individualize within our soul. So a lot of us who are, perhaps those of you who are experiencing more of the aloneness in this form, and you're going through challenges, know that this is because you've been pushed on a path that's kind of like, it's not easy, but those souls who are very tenacious even, they have sometimes more hardships-based journeys, and it's not always easy for them. But they're the ones who are setting the footprints for this new age in the way what it's truly meant to represent. So there is no group on the level of unity where each being is not yet fully unified within themselves. And let's face it, the majority of the people, however they wish to be, they're not there yet. And even the people who are proclaiming and, you know, claiming that everyone now is a starseed, everyone now is an angel. Recently I heard this channeling where the person said, well, you're doing this with your children. You're kind of like idolizing them, and you're putting them on the pedestal, and you're calling every child a crystal, rainbow, starseed, whatever. And they're just people who are going to grow up and have their own challenges, and they're here to learn. So there's this tendency within this New Age movement to not, you know, to say things without the full understanding of what it really means, and putting labels and words just to everything and everyone now, and without a proper understanding. So this is kind of like, it's distracting us from the flow of what is true. And it's putting a mask, and it's putting roles and labels in front of the things that should be just playing out their natural course. So it's very important for us to get really real and to not do that, and to realize that we each have our own role here. You know, someone just said to me today, we talked about some people who, like celebrities being, and she said, well, this person is definitely a light worker. And I said, you know, every single human being has the potential and can be a light worker, because a light worker in its truth means someone working with the aspect of light. It means being open to light, being on the light path, or contributing to the light path of others in some way. It can be every earthly soul, souls who are playing many incarnations here on earth. There's only certain groups of beings who, you know, we say a star-born, starseed, and then there's only few who are master teachers, spirit guides. And the thing is, we often like to see the world with our own kind of vision or version. But where we are now and unlocking our DNA calls us to the inner exploratory realms, where we will first meet ourselves as we truly are, and then activate the higher potential where we can move into. And when that is complete, in that state of completeness, we would move into joining with these groups. and creating partnerships and creations becoming real on this planet based on that soul individualization within. And a lot of people, just because they wake up to their soul does not yet mean they have completed the process that we call the soul individualization journey. I have recommended to you these beautiful books from Vivamus, beautiful channelings. There's actually 6 books. And if you're following me on Instagram, I shared a bit from every book, just going through my summer posts, and you can find everything there, or just type Vivamus anywhere in the book search entry, whatever it is. It's important. What I also wanted to share today is I've promised you, and I've made an initiative that I wanted to speak a little bit also of nature and what nature wants from us, not through wanting or need, but like a sacred calling of Mother Earth to the contributions that we're making consciously, each on our own. Because what we're doing now, and let's face it, you look at the World Wide Web and everybody's talking about chemtrails and what they're doing, and the food poisoning and GMOs, and all of this truly exists. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people who are saying that they're light workers or they're doing good, but sometimes we're just partially doing good, and we're not always seeing things for how they are and how our impacts kind of damage or contribute to the damaging or the further stressing of the environment. And we say things like, well, there's forces who will cleanse all of this. We're still being passive. So as I often tell you, the beings of light, the Elohim, we work with the nature aspects and with the elementals of nature and the nature realms, nature kingdoms, and we're very connected with that because there's a prime creation element in that storyline. And what does this mean? Just recently someone said, and I was really attentive to that saying because it made me think, and I've seen a message from nature about that, because there's something about dyeing the hair, right? It's not personal, it's just something I want to share. And I often see this within people, within the lightworker community. There's an element to our humanness which has this built-in feel good, wanting to look good, wanting to feel good, right? And it's all good, we're supposed to feel good as humans. We're supposed to feel that our lives are enriched. But a lot of the times we forget about the element of nature. And we forget about other people, and we forget about how that goes into the environment, and we don't think. It stops with us in the effect that it has on our own reality. And just because something temporarily makes us feel or look good doesn't mean that it will have a positive effect on the greater, collective energies. So I want to talk about, this need to become better in this, to not better as in betterment of we're doing bad, just thinking in terms that we can refine our actions through the awareness that comes through of the entirety of the whole planet and the holistic approach to our true ascension, because ascension in truth is organic. Our ascension is interdependent, interconnected with nature. It's not separate. We perhaps feel ourselves, okay, how did ascended masters do it, right? This way, that we can do it that way. They themselves had to realize as well of the sacred alchemy of nature, and each of them, depending on different rays of creation that they were serving, that they've mastered through their own mastery, they had to take in the nature element as well. And a lot of times people forget that, because ascension is not this vertical movement, it's horizontally expressed and experienced just as well. So such an action, right? Such an act of dyeing our hair and looking good for this moment or for a few months, and it's done with chemicals. These chemicals have to go into the environment. And although you won't see these chemicals, you'll look good, you'll feel good, you'll be radiant, and you'll have the flashiest color. Those chemicals will still need to go somewhere, and they'll, I'm just using this as an example. There's many other even more toxic things, but let's use this as an example of something that personally affects us. And I've noticed a lot of women who, they perhaps are vegan and very taking care of their lifestyle and taking care of themselves. But how about taking care of nature as well? So thinking of expanding our circle of thoughts in terms of how these effects cover up the whole, not just it ends in our little house or domain, and then it no longer affects us. We just put it aside. A lot of these things we still don't realize. The products that we buy, I've noticed there's people who are vegans, but sometimes they're not looking into other elements. They're also nature. It's just we have to realize that nature is intrinsically smart. It's intelligent. It's like a organic way of artificial intelligence, although it's not artificial, but it's so functional. It's so intelligent in its divinity. I've just recently watched this documentary on the metamorphosis, the journey, what is it called, the beauty of the butterflies. Whew, I completely recommend it. It's amazing, because once you see this, you will know that there's a greater creator at play here, which functions through divine beauty, and everything in a way takes care of itself. You ask yourself, why do I never see, I don't know, these dead bodies or things lying on the, it's like everything in nature kind of commingles or co-interacts in a way that there's no waste. But when we do that ourselves and through these toxic elements or chemicals, we forget that there will be forces that will have to cleanse that out of the environment. And I've talked to the person, and the person said to me, well, every time I do this, I pray, right? I pray that it doesn't go into my system and damages my system, because a lot of these things, these toxic chemicals, they go into the body and in the female's reproductive system, and they do have harmful effect, especially for those who are continuously doing that. The body can no longer process that much, so it starts to store it, right? Everything with the body, which can't process and flow, it stores it. But look at the approach to this, right? Nothing is wrong with prayer. Prayer is good. Intention is good. But the moment you pray in a way that you postpone or put away your responsibility, that is your action, into some deity or some celestial or some being that will take care of this for you, or the violet flame, it's in a way you're still postponing your duty as a sovereign being, that you first have to sweep in front of your own whatever, right? And in front of your own doorstep. And we do that a lot of the times. We put out the trash, no longer our concern. Where does it go? We don't think about these things. We are far from the ideal society. But instead of what I see the lightworker communities doing is blaming a lot of those who are doing this collective waste, this greater programs in a way of massive toxic things happening. Our whole system in nature is already so toxic because of this whole spraying and everything. But I have to say, even though this is happening, because we're organic beings, and a part of our DNA, this goes with the DNA activation, is because DNA is a part of life. It's in everything, right? So when you are putting toxins in the environment, eventually they'll come back to you, because it's all in the water. It just circulates, but it's still there. And imagine if you knew how much work goes into cleansing this from the water streams, from the soil. And these beings of light and the elementals who are constantly doing this work 24/7, if you had to do that work, trust me, you change, because you knew how much work it is and you wouldn't want to do it. You'd go like, oh no, I'd rather go to the beach. The thing is, it's still in a way a little bit irresponsible, because there's natural ways of looking or feeling good. I personally don't use anything chemically based. I don't dye my hair. This is from the sun. I'm outside all the time. I buy only organic, mostly organic products. Everything like that. Even the way you clean your apartment or whatever it is, it can be done with very simple few ingredients. And the thing is, we have to stop blaming the big picture and the big chemical story if we're still the ones contributing to it and saying, oh yes, and then we're complaining about it. That's the thing. We're forgetting how powerful we are in our contributions. So whenever we say no to something that's toxic and yes to something that is an alternative, we're creating a new reality and we're becoming responsible co-creators. So this is what nature wanted to share through me. That don't forget, it's not about blaming the bigger picture and the big players, but becoming the big player yourself. And those of you who are very much with nature, like I am, you will get messages. Or nature will tell you, don't pick this, don't do this, you can walk here, not there, that's sacred land. You will feel that attunement to the maximum, and that is a part of our DNA activation as well. That is how our DNA is merging with the DNA of all life. Everything begins as light DNA, transcribes or translates into the physical DNA as a process. Sorry. And the thing is that the purer you become, the more light you can take in your body, and you have to, in a way, make your body agile enough so that it can't, you know, it is strengthened enough to take in these new energies, because otherwise nothing can go in, because the body cannot recognize it. It doesn't recognize these things, or the body recognizes the cosmic rays as toxic. And you will start creating defense mechanisms within your body, will start attacking that. What happens? Cancer, right? So we have to go with the new energies by elevating this life force. We have to become natural. We have to understand DNA activation on all levels, not just, you know, what people post this music online, DNA activation, everybody activate yourself. If that was true on all levels, then everyone is totally awake, totally sovereign being. But it's not happening, because we can activate, but then we need to find the embodiment process that will be able to assimilate and then utilize all this knowledge within the body, that body can process it, so that it won't no longer detect toxins as good and healthy, and things that are good for us as toxic, because it's mind programming. And there's perhaps rays emitted through the sun that are good for you, but you somehow were taught that it's bad, and you have a program, and you're going to constantly tell your body it's bad. The body will start attacking it, and that's how cancer is formed. As well as the chemicals, of course, in the sunscreen, and, you know, all these layers and filters that are very bad for us. And all of that, imagine, goes in the water, it goes in the soil, and this is a basic components of, you know, in the air, of course, what we have. So when you will start activating your DNA in greater levels, and this will happen in the solar eclipse, our DNA will be upgraded. It's always about then a few months, or sometimes even years after that, that the bodies will process that. And those of you who are more stronger in your life force undertaking, and how much you can already incorporate in your body through light assimilation, and the light then distributes that through your body in the proper way, you will go through this faster. And that's why I call you Ascension Pioneers, because you're always the frontiers, you're the first ones to go. And those who don't will have a harder time. You know, when you have to integrate something for a longer period of time, imagine it gets in a way strenuous for the body as well. So we have to activate the very basic component of our DNA that will have this natural function to recognize what are toxins, to recognize what's good for us naturally, and to learn how to integrate everything within the structure, so that these dormant codes will also in a way be assimilated through the right distribution of light. Because imagine there's samples of people who wake up and it's too much light, and they end up in the mental institution because they can't integrate that. They can't literally incorporate it in these 4 lower bodies we talk about. They can't unify, and they have these cracks in their system of processing, which it's like you can't go in a circle. You can't be a spiral within that circle of your embodiment. There's like cracks and holes in between, and it's like the system tries to jump through them, but you can't, because jumping through these holes, there's no assimilation. And you can read that in the Light Techniques book from Sanat Kumara Vivamus, which I just completed. So I really highly recommend you those books. If you have any questions, you know where to find me. It's August, it's still very intense. We're still retreating in the way, so if I'm not replying in my emails always at the very fast time, it's because of this month is still a holiday month for a lot of us. It's retreat time. So I wish you all the best. It's a really awesome light activation. It's as always downloadable via a server provider, and it's just an automatic download, and you can find it again. Link is down below. I wish you all the best during this season. It's very intense. Sometimes the weather is acting out differently during the eclipses than usually does during these months, but it's all, as always, for greater good, and being eclipsed out, zoned out, phased out. No, really, I truly wish you to be activated, integrated, and rewriting in this through these new life pathways that we're creating, helping also to establish new neural networks in our bodies, so that these life pathways towards a new illumined human form can be created and fully embodied. Thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful for you. As always, so much love, wisdom, and power, and go follow me on both of these pages, Ascension Pioneers and Polonaria Dawn on Facebook. And if you have any other things to contribute, you know where to find me as well. And my personal services, it's all down below. And take care. So much love. Bye. So, my sweet beloveds, one very simple thing you can do is an act of appreciation and gratitude to all the elementals and all the spirit forces the forces of all elements, and the different areas within which these elements are being distributed, and how they're being managed, how they're being also in a way created or uncreated. So just a simple thing, whenever you do something, something within your mundane reality, or maybe sitting outside somewhere in a sacred spot, whatever you do, feel gratitude or thank that space for providing service for you, just how you're providing a service. And show gratitude, appreciation. Perhaps you will be guided into a certain way. Ask nature to show you how you can extend the level of your gratitude. So this way, your DNA will become, in a way, enriched, because more living light force from Holy Spirit will be able to flow through you when you will, in a way, become a part of this allness of life. A conscious contributor and co-creator, not a waster, not someone who damages things on the planet, but who takes everything with caution, with responsibility, and the deepest awareness, and of course, divine love. So thank the elements, the elementals, all the beings of light who constantly work, and all of us who are constantly behind the scenes. A lot of us are here to raise, we're constantly rising the planetary life force, and it's becoming evident. It's showing results. But a lot of times we're not receiving enough gratitude. And you know how when someone shows you appreciation and gratitude, you light up and you sparkle? You feel like you've risen a few feet higher and you're becoming taller and more self-confident. Well, all of us who are doing this sacred selfless service work, those of us who are physical or non-physical, we love to receive this appreciation, because through that our light grows and we can do more for the planet. So the first, most simple act of showing this appreciation and gratitude is very important. And it's a starter point, and anyone can do this. Thanking everywhere. So where I recorded my video today, and I sit in this beautiful stone, and as I got up, I was guided to thank the stone for providing its service for me so that I could record this video. Because sometimes you don't know. Maybe you sit on an animal, like an insect, or we never know. So when we thank that thing will fulfill its purpose. And either way, it will be blessed. Through our gratitude, everything is blessed. That's my today's first message transmission from Spirit and the family of Elohim. Just feeling this and knowing that this is a part of your ascension. Your ascension is not excluded, because it occurs in the physical body, and your physical body is a component of all the elements. And that means that all of it is activated and embraced as one in sacred service to all life. There's a lot of people saying, I'm in service to Gaia or the planet. But when we say this comes with responsibility. This comes in a way with the greatest diplomacy. And how this gift we have to serve selflessly will be utilized, not just for ourselves, but the whole, because it is of the whole, returning back into its holistic essence. So the body, our physical body and our genome is created in a way that we are a biological unit. We incorporate this body that is a biological unit. And our being is pure electromagnetic nature. So there's physics there. So we have biology, we have physics, and what translates the life force in the body is chemistry. So the chemistry is how the DNA of the light translates into our physicality, into our biology. So all these three compose the divine sacred trinity of life. So value everything. See how chemistry is important, whether it's toxic, all these chemicals that are toxic, or it will be, in a way, serving your vital life force. Don't just think about these things, but feel them in your heart. And so it is.